Hi, welcome to the Small Plates podcast. My name is Mike Casey. I'm a saxophonist based in New York City, and I'm really pumped to tell you about this month's featured music, an original song of mine handpicked for your enjoyment by Wayne himself called Cold-Blooded Blues. I released this song in 2018 as part of my Stay Surprising Live at the Side Door project. Cold-Blooded Blues is a critical part of my catalog because I love the blues. It's a really foundational part of who I am as a saxophonist and as an artist. There are two recorded versions of this song, the original and a remix, because in 2019 I set out to do a remix project with producers from around the world. I used to DJ, I've always loved hip-hop, and I wanted to explore that side of my musicality by working with remixers to reimagine these songs. You're going to hear the Burbank remix of this track, then you'll get bite-sized direction and inspiration you've come to expect from this insightful program. I'm Mike Casey, you're listening to the Small Plates podcast, and this is Cold-Blooded Blues.
That was Mike Casey on the saxophone for the first instrumental and the first remix we've ever featured here on Small Plates. The song was an alternate version of Mike's Cold-Blooded Blues recording, and I want to thank him for sharing his talents today. My name is Wayne Martin. I'm your host for this and every episode of the Small Plates podcast. And while collaborations may have been mentioned in passing on previous episodes, we have yet to discuss integrating your work with other artists in depth. So this podcast, number 111, is called Fab Collabs. There are a lot of reasons why you should repeatedly create with people who do what you do. Whether you approach artists you already know, or if you begin cold calling complete strangers, either way, in fact, collaborating with others with whom you've never had a collaboration before, with whom you've never created with before, can result in some of the best output that you'll ever make. Just ask anyone who's made it a work habit to take chances with others, and you'll hear all kinds of replies why they do it over and over. Collaboration is an escape of your sense of isolation or your creative lonelies. If you're not part of a duet or a trio or a group, the creative lonelies are at best a stifling phenomenon. There's a charge that comes from creating with others when you most often spend your time creating solo. Aside from the creative lonelies, working from only inside your own head can get predictable and even repetitive. So you can wash away some of your stale creative processes by asking others to collaborate in some way. There are a lot of different ways to collaborate. I'm going to name a few of those, and one of the strategies you'll get as a takeaway today. Also, you can build a community using collaborations as a tool. And if you're not part of a musical movement in some geographical area, you most often need community in some fashion to succeed. Collabs solve that problem. And yes, lack of community, it's a tangible problem in more ways than one. So whether you're reaching below your circle of influence to give a leg up to someone who deserves a little guidance or profile, or whether you're reaching way up outside of your own league to try to collab with someone who's more accomplished than you are, the community aspect of collabs puts you in a relevant light to others who are like you. And sometimes, with a little luck, to those who aren't like you at all. Isn't that a provocative thought? Another huge benefit to collabs is the frustration and the challenge you receive by having to execute your craft in a way you can't control and you can't predict. True artistic growth explodes in those scenarios like firecrackers. So if you are reluctant to take artistic challenges, collabs are a tremendous exercise to address your insecurity. And collaborating regularly can diminish ongoing anxiety about creative partnerships in general. And so the examples of collaborative benefits just go on and on. Take a minute to look inside yourself and your creative history to make a mental list of why a collaboration might benefit you right here and right now, because that benefit, it may change. It may be different next week or next month. So today, what do you think would serve you best should you collab with another artist on your next piece of work? Remember these things during our conversation today. While Lennon and McCartney used to write songs by literally sitting at the piano on the bench next to one another, with online collaboration, you can work with anyone in the world, anywhere in the world. Making music with others has been a celebrated musical experience, celebrated human experience for thousands of years. It's a dynamic, worth the effort, even when you're insecure about your process or your talent, even if you're afraid to approach the people that you want to work with. It does, as a matter of course, require you to check your ego at the door. And it may make more sense to pitch other artists who seem like an oddball fit for you rather than someone who's kind of a no-brainer match. When you fuse together styles that don't seem complementary at first pass, the presence of creative friction may contribute to one of your best collaborations ever. And if your collaboration results in something that you put out into the public sphere, you both get the advantage of being introduced to one another's fan bases and social media reach. When combined, the three strategies I'm going to share with you today for Fab Collabs, they constitute a three-step process for walking yourself through the collaboration adventure. Even if you're already somewhat experienced at collaborations, you're going to hear some ideas that will help you refine your approach and your process. Today's strategies address how you will actually instigate a collab in such a way that you can increase your chances of getting a positive reply And then once you get that yes, once you get the positive response, what should you do every single time to prepare for the collaboration process that's ahead of you? And then finally, some good rules to apply when you're actually in the middle of the process itself, the day of. And that's fodder you can put on a Post-it note as a reminder. You can put that inside your guitar case. But let's have a quick disclaimer first. Not every collaboration is successful. Not every collaboration is easy or fun. Not every collaboration results in something that both parties actually feel good about. Not every collab even makes you feel good in that moment. And all of that is because humans connect differently based on unlimited influences. So just as if when you meet someone at a party, you meet people at a house party, someone you may want to chill with may have no interest in standing next to you. They get no vibe, they get no connection, there's no chemistry. And someone who wants to chat you up may be someone that you don't want to talk to. And if you do connect with someone at that house party, you might find that they just don't do it for you after you spend a little bit of time together. So manage your expectations going into collaborations with the understanding that collabs are vulnerable experiences for everyone involved if they're doing it right. It's best viewed as an experiment every single time. So if you don't walk away with a hit song that's going to change your life and your livelihood, that means you can still have a hugely positive experience if you learn and grow from what happened as an artist and as a human. Who knows, you might even write about it. Embrace the experience of collaboration and lower your expectations that every time it's going to be a home run, and you'll enjoy it so much more. So, how do you find a collaboration? How do you pitch someone to collaborate with you? To write the best pitch for an Instagram DM or a pitch email, you can follow these steps. Number one is quickly, easily, succinctly tell them why you're writing them. Number two is, it's a two-parter. Explain what kind of collaboration you're looking for and why your idea would bring value to them. Number three is the ask. And the ask is not for the collab. The ask is for a 10-minute FaceTime or a Skype call so that you two can talk about it face-to-face without having to make time to meet in person. So if I was going to write that collaboration pitch email to Steve Mack, he's written worldwide hits for Pink and Ed Sheeran and so many others, it might sound something like this. Hey, Steve, I think your song, Strip That Down, that Liam Payne recorded, is a stellar pop song. In fact, I think the mood of that song is the perfect vibe for a new song I'm going to be writing next month for an indie film. My new song is going to be used in the opening credits, and I'm wondering if you would be open to a 10-minute FaceTime or Skype to talk about how we might write some of that song together. My samples and socials are in the links below. Thanks in advance, Wayne. And I would write a very engaging subject line, something like opportunity to write for film. See how I focused away from me and how long I've been songwriting? If I've had success? And I've focused more about why I think Steve needs to be involved and what the benefit is if he gets involved. The pitch is short, it's direct. And again, the ask is not, will you write my song with me, but are you open to talk about this opportunity? Easy peasy, right? If he's interested in the idea, he's going to check out my socials, my playlist, whatever I've attached. And honestly, that's really all I can hope for, is that he's going to evaluate the pitch that I sent him, right? So now that you have an idea how to pitch a collab to someone you've never met, what do you do if they say, yeah, I'll write a song with you? You aren't really giving yourself the best possible jump start if you just wait until the day of and see what randomly happens, or if inspiration does strike you both. Preparation is going to be a huge factor on the success of this songwriting session. And while you can't control or predict how your songwriting partner or partners have prepared, or even if they have prepared, you are in total control of what you bring in terms of preparation. And here's what you need to have before session day. Number one, toss around some ideas on the methods of how you two in particular will actually collaborate. So first think about, do you want to sit at the piano bench together like Lennon and McCartney, or do you want to play creative tennis, where you lob what you're creating back and forth so that each can make their own individual contributions? Think about what you're best at and what makes the most sense. Do you want to try something you've never done? What are they best at? If you don't know, ask. And if you're not both on the same piano bench, will you be on a shared screen while each of you contributes together or separately? Or will you just send files back and forth over a period of time? And if you really do want to elevate your collaboration, step up and away from the tennis match. Are you writing together playing instruments, or are you on laptops? You got to have some structure identified before every session so everyone will walk in with a prearranged and agreed upon procedure already in mind. Having no procedure means it's likely way too loose to be productive. And if you're collaborating with a producer or a musician wearing a producer's hat, what kind of sonic blueprints are you bringing to the table as reference files? See, all of these things are going to be the rules. Number two is, feel free to offer up your strengths and your weaknesses in advance of the date. You can say, most people I write with appreciate my approach to telling stories. Or my manager thinks I need to work more on vocal arrangements. Maybe we could work specifically on that together. Or I'm not very good on the keys, but I have this idea for a counter melody. Those kinds of things. It doesn't mean that you're requiring your collaboration partner to address your strengths and your weaknesses, but that you can communicate them after you identify them. And your collab partner will really like that intel. Number three is, prepare your song starts. And what that means is, don't show up, spark up, and then wait for a muse to appear. And you should not expect your songwriting partner to walk in with a great new idea that he has for the two of you to flush out unless that's been shared with you. So over-communicate, over-prepare, no matter what's been promised. Bring in a guitar riff. Bring in beats, bring in lyrics. You can have a complete verse or a chorus, bring a title, bring in a melody that you can hum. All of these things can help to ignite a collaborative idea that you can both contribute to in the session. And sometimes a co-write will blow through many song starts before one actually resonates with both of the writers. Not to mention that showing up without some seeds often kills any chances of ever working with some artists ever again. If you bring in something that's nearing completion, as I said before, that's not fair, doesn't respect the spirit of collaboration unless, of course, you've communicated that that's the goal for the collab up front and it's been agreed to. So now you're finally ready for the big day in the studio, in a living room, or on a Skype call. And here are your tips for sitting in the sandbox with your collaborator for the day of. If you're a subscriber to Small Plates, you will not be surprised to hear me say that a huge majority of your success is going to depend more on your mindset than on your talent. I mentioned before that you have to check your ego. And what I mean specifically in this instance is that you have to separate criticism from who you are and the work you're trying to do. If your collab partner doesn't like an idea, it's not a rejection of you in as much as it's a rejection of the idea. Creatives are most often sensitive souls, and rejection and criticism, they can mortally wound a session. So let's play like grown-ups, shall we? Be open to hearing the rejection of an idea to the extent that you're happy to offer an alternative with a brave face. And should you be the one shooting down a lyric you find to be kind of amateur or dumb, then show them the respect you hope they will show you. I'm not saying that having a partner take your song start and dismiss it is going to be easy the first time, especially if you were hoping that would be the project for the day. But I am saying that if you check your ego and realize that you're both there for the song, not for you, then it makes for a much healthier and productive session. Checking your ego means checking your behavior and your language to make sure that while you're together, you're both being cooperative and congenial to work together. Just like if you were in an office somewhere doing something else for a living. You know that word gets around who is most difficult in those office meetings, right? So don't think word doesn't get around about who's bratty and who's high-strung in a collab session. Moving on, I'd say that most people who create say that the act of discovery is really why they create in the first place. The aha moments, the insights, the sparks, the excitement, the satisfaction from having completed something new. So trust the process. Trust your collaborator in that moment as best you know how. If you don't trust what's happening, you can't bring your best self to the work. And that means you may be relegated to a role that you don't like as much. You may not be in the mood to learn a lesson that day. But here you are, learning a lesson. Maybe you didn't expect that your collaborator would behave the way that they are. And that throws you a little bit. Just keep finding your creative center and remember that no matter who is contributing more and who's contributing less, you're both donating 100% of your time to the effort. So trust the process. Another tip is repeatedly save works that are in process so you don't lose something great as you move through the day. It's great to say, let's go back to the version that we had a few minutes ago because I really liked this part of that one. So be careful not to lose your ideas as you move forward. You never know if the verse you just discarded has the exact lyric you're going to need for the pre-chorus or for a bridge later in the day. If you get stuck in your session, break a rule. Switch seats. Your rules are not actually made to be broken, but sometimes it's just hard to get momentum with someone new. And no matter what you've done, there just doesn't seem to be any traction. So you can reassign roles together. You can look at what you've established as ground rules, and then together pick one boundary that you can throw away for the day. Don't be afraid to adjust the process if it offers the chance, the opportunity to improve the process. So to be clear, have some structure before you meet, but feel free to offer to adjust that structure if it looks like you're not being productive. Adaptability, flexibility, they go a long way to creating something exceptional. Finally, remember that it's not over until it's over. How many times will a song get tweaked? Have you ever been through that process? So let's just walk it through. You and a new collaborator write a song together. It takes about 3 hours. Structurally, it's there. You have it chart written or recorded for reference, and by all accounts, you think it's finished. But a couple of weeks go by, and you get a file and an email with a note that says, "Hey, I switched up a couple things. Let me know what you think." "Oh, okay. I thought it was done." But you listen, and sure, it's good, not necessarily better, but you don't object, so now you're in version 2, V2. Then you ask a friend to perform it at a showcase, and while they're on stage, they improv a few of the lyrics. That's V3. Someone in the audience says, "Wow, I'd love to cut that song as a demo." And after you hear the demo, you see that she took some artistic license on the melody, and you're up to V4. If the demo gets cut by a new recording artist, the A&R is going to have input on a new pre-chorus. It goes on and on. What you agreed is done is never done until it's streaming somewhere or until it's pressed onto vinyl. Keep that in mind. Sometimes the things you liked most about that song may end up disappearing after others interpret it. And that's okay. Because that means the thing it's missing is now something you can recycle into a new work as the song starts. And you're back to another interesting day of collaboration somewhere else. As we wrap up today, one last very important thought to remember. There is no unsuccessful collaboration, because in the end, if all you walk away with after a long day of attempts is nothing but the knowledge that you might have learned something, then it was a Fab Collab. And now that you've been schooled in how to get started with a collaboration, let's move on. Today's resource recommendations are actually websites, apps, standalone tools you can use for collaborations, writer to writer, producer to producer, writer to producer, so on. Not endorsing any of them, other than to say, you've got a lot of options. You can produce music real-time online with Compose, K-O-M-P-O-Z. You might find collaborators of all kinds by visiting ProCollab, Sound Better, or Splice. If you're a producer looking for a vocalist, or in turn, if you're a vocalist looking for a producer, you might want to look at Vocalizer. All kinds of musicians use BandLab, BandHub, Vampire, amongst many others. So, go! Find the first one that suits you best, and grab your first collaboration. As always, I hope this time together proved inspirational and informative. Please say hi if you're so inclined by shooting us an email, smallplatesuggestionbox@gmail.com.
You've been listening to Small Plates, bite-sized career strategies for musicians, other creators, and their collaborators. Hosted by music manager and veteran career strategist, R. Wayne Martin. Small Plates is a monthly subscription podcast produced by M3 New York City. Click subscribe to receive new Small Plates insights and strategies on the first Friday of each month, only on Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening.